Nikki here. I'm here today to do my Book of the Month review for May, and it is The Wish List by Jane Costello. And I have to say, I was super impressed with this book. I think it helps that I was in the mood to read this kind of book. It is a romantic comedy chick lit book, and man, it hit the spot. It was cute, it was funny, it was heartwarming, and it was just a lot of fun to read. Is it a great work of literature? No, not by any stretch. But it was a good read, and I enjoyed it immensely. And on the front, there is a blurb that kind of says if you like Sophie Kinsella, you'd like Jane Costello, and at least in reference to this book specifically, I totally agree with that statement. And I will just move forward into my likes here. The first one is Emma herself. That's the main character. She is pretty down to earth. There are a few things that are a little almost too good to be true, but for the most part, she's really relatable in terms of her emotions, her reactions. There are a few times I cringed with her, even though I saw myself doing very similar things. And overall, it was just a really good time to follow her perspective. My second like is the development of relationships, both romantic and platonic. It was a really good exploration without having anybody directly involved be incredibly toxic or be enablers. And it was just really nice to see these strong, independent women fleshing out these relationships with themselves and with others. And it was really enjoyable to see that as well. And then my third like is just the communication that was shown in the healthy relationships. It's something that's really important to me. I don't really like reading a lot of books like this where the main relationship really isn't that healthy, but it's being advertised as such. And I think the relationship that was advertised here between the friends and between the love interest actually did a pretty good job of staying very acceptable and cute. And I really appreciated that the toxic relationships that were represented were shown as being toxic relationships and not good ones. And with that, I'll move into my dislikes. I don't have many, I really have two, and honestly, they're just nitpicky things. My first dislike is just the loss of dislike of children. It's mentioned really early on in the book. It just kind of goes away, and I don't know why. If you've read this book and understand what I missed, let me know, please, because I was very confused by that. And then my other dislike, again, it's just a little nitpicky thing, is the way that certain secrets were kept. Once you get to them, you'll realize a lot of them were really telegraphed. So I figured out what was coming before it happened, but it was just very strange. Some of it was just done very unhealthily, and that was just grated a little bit. Like I said, two little things, not super big, just really petty dislikes. And with that, I'll launch into the characters. There's Emma, she's your main character, as I mentioned in my likes. Fun, relatable, pretty down to earth. The few things that are a little too good to be true are very minor and just are more of a convenience than anything else. And because of all of the other personality traits that she had, I found her very relatable, so I got very invested in her story. Then you have Asha, Callie, and Marianne. They're her friends. Asha and Callie lived up the street from Marianne and Emma when they were growing up, and they're all good friends. And Marianne is Emma's older sister, and as they became adults, became better friends. And that's something that I loved to read because that's something that's happened with my sister and I. I wouldn't say we fought tooth and nail growing up, but we definitely didn't get along well all the time. But now that we are leading our own separate lives and are adults, we get along a lot better, and I loved seeing something like that reflected in a book, especially with these sister relationships. Then there's the love interest, who I thought was cute and supportive and just a really good person, and I really appreciated how the gentle, sweet things were highlighted, not the big, passionate, romantic gestures. It was really wonderful. Now I will do my wrap up here. This is the end of the spoiler-free part. I will give you another warning when I'm done, because everything that follows this will be spoiler-filled. I adored this book. I had a really hard time putting it down. It is 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. And like I said, it's not just this great work of literature, but the level of enjoyment I had reading it is just, really launches it up, especially when a lot of the technical writing was pretty good. It just had a few little things that I didn't really care for, but overall it was just a really fun read, a really cute, romantic, heartwarming story, and it just hit the spot. It hit that little spot in my heart that needed a little bit of cheering up. And this being said, I know this book isn't for everyone, but if you do like this kind of novel, I totally recommend giving it a shot. I'll give you your last warning. We are now going to be going into a spoiler section. So if you are done watching, click off the video now if you are not wanting to get spoiled. And if you don't care or are interested to hear my spoiler thoughts, tune in. Continue watching. All right, so as with all of my kind of book of the month virtual book club videos, I will be doing my book club questions. I have started just with a standard 6, the first of which is, what was your initial reaction to the book? Mine was downright excitement because I was really craving just a sweet, heartwarming book. And because my library's closed, I can't really just go out and get one. So when I opened this up with, as you saw in my announcement video, I was really pumped because I knew it was gonna hit the spot as soon as I read the back. And it was really just what I wanted to read. My second question is, what is your favorite chapter or scene? And I honestly don't really have one here because I enjoyed the entire book. There were no chapters or scenes where I was just like, what the heck is going on? All of them just were doing what I wanted. The third question is, how did the characters change throughout the book? I thought it was really good growth overall. It's not like tons of growth happened. The book takes place over about a 6-month period. So there's not tons of time, going by. Everybody grew just a little bit. They became more themselves, which is what I liked. They became more confident in their abilities and their personalities and their tastes and everything. And it was really nice to watch. Number 4, how did you feel about the ending? I loved the ending because I wanted a happy ending, and that's what I got. And it was sweet and romantic and just a giant gesture of love, which was really great. Question 5, would you read anything else by this author? And I definitely would. If I was ever in the mood for this kind of book again and she had more of these, I would be reading them in a heartbeat because that was such an enjoyable experience. And then question 6, what books remind you of this book? And there is the blurb on the front that says, if you like Sophie Kinsella, that you'd like Jane Costello. And the one Sophie Kinsella that specifically comes to mind here is My Not So Perfect Life. It's a similar kind of up and down, finding yourself, finding your skills book. There's a few differences, but it ends up with just a cute love story, a sweet love interest, and just a happy ending. So if you liked that book, read this book, or if you've read this book, try that book. And then the other one that it kind of reminds me of is Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. I read that earlier this year, and a similar kind of idea. The main female protagonist just has kind of an up and down life at the moment, and it's just nice looking at her and watching things work out for the best. And with that, I will move into the spoiler chat points I want to talk about. Mostly raving, not really ranting, which is nice because it's easier to shut myself up that way. So I'll start off actually with the inconsistency. I kind of mentioned it in my negatives, but I don't like that Emma's dislike for children just disappears. Like, she talks about how she doesn't like them and they're messy and blah, 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 blah. And she doesn't, and throughout the book, that just never gets mentioned again, but she also never, has has a revelatory interaction with kids that seems to change that. I don't get it, and it's the one inconsistency that really bugged me, and I'm just gonna move on. My next thing I want to talk about is I really liked how they compared Matt and Rob, right? Rob? Yeah, Matt and Rob, specifically in terms of their reactions to the list, because I felt that exemplified why they were a good or bad match for Emma, and I really appreciated, the tension there was kind of silly, because I get they both love her or whatever, but it was just Rob should trust Emma, and Emma does trust Matt, and nothing's happened. My next thing I want to talk about is the slow growth of the relationship between Matt and Emma. I really loved that it became strangers to lovers, because they were strangers and then they became friends and then they became lovers. And while I think there was a little bit of attraction there the whole time, I loved that the love grew from the friendship they established, and just that really witty repartee, the sharing of burdens, like the enjoyment of each other's company, just naturally, and how they showed it naturally evolving to this next state. I love when that happens. Friends to lovers is probably my favorite trope in romantic books, in romances. My final thing I'm going to talk about is just kind of Emma's exploration of herself and growth into her own person. And at the beginning of the book, there's a few more comparisons of herself to other people, and by the end it's just like, I'm living my life the way I want, I'm taking the risks I want, I'm doing the things I want, I'm working a job I love, I'm in love with the man I'm seeing. And it was just such a good ending for her. And it wasn't just, oh, I have my life together, here's a romance. It was like, I've sorted out the things I was dissatisfied with and I fixed it. And really the only complaint within that is that although she fixed everything, she didn't, I feel like she didn't have the moment of, I can be happy without a man. And while I don't think everybody needs to have that moment, because she was coming out of a relationship and then going into another one, I really would have liked a little bit of that. I feel like it would have just created her character more concretely. It just would have added that extra little bit that would have made this a perfect character growth arc for me. And that's the last thing I have to say here today. So hopefully I didn't ramble too much. Seems unlikely at best. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!